Hello and welcome. Benjamin Delahoff Foulois was a United States Army general who learned to fly the first military planes purchased from the Wright brothers. He became the first military aviator as an airship pilot and achieved numerous other military aviation firsts. He led strategic development of the Air Force in the United States. His name is pronounced as Foulois in America or Foulois in France. Benjamin was born in 1879 in Connecticut, and at 18 years of age he used his older brother's birth certificate to enlist in the army. In 1899, Foulois enlisted again using his own name as a private in the regular army. In 1902, Foulois transferred to the 17th Infantry, attending the Army Signal School. This was a year before the historic first powered flight by the Wright brothers. Foulois' final thesis was the tactical and strategical value of dirigible balloons and aerodynamical flying machines, within which he demonstrated prescience in such statements as this: "In all future warfare, we can expect to see engagements in the air between hostile aerial fleets. The struggle for supremacy in the air will undoubtedly take place while the opposing armies are manoeuvring for position." End of quote. He forecast the replacement of the horse by the airplane in reconnaissance and wireless air-to-ground communications, including transmission of photographs. As a result, Foulois was selected to conduct the 1908 Thomas Scott Baldwin airship and aeroplane acceptance trials. Thus, he operated the first dirigible balloon of the US government. The crash of the Wright military flyer, procured at the same time by the Army on its final test flight in 1908, claimed the first US military airplane fatality, First Lieutenant Thomas E. Selfridge, and also injuring Orville Wright. The Wright brothers spent 10 months following the fatal crash in making engineering improvements to the aeroplane. Foulois had concluded that no military future existed for balloons and dirigibles, disagreeing with his superiors. In July 1909, Orville was ready to complete the acceptance tests for the Signal Corps' first aircraft. On July 30, 1909, Foulois' first flight in an aeroplane was the evaluation test flight from Fort Myer to Alexandria in Virginia. Pilot Orville Wright and navigator Foulois broke previous speed, altitude and cross-country duration records, flying at 400 feet at 42 miles per hour for 10 miles. The Army purchased this Wright Model A military flyer, which became Signal Corps No. 1. The final condition of the contract was that the Wrights would train two pilots. Foulois and Lieutenant Frank Lamb were initially designated to take direct instruction from the brothers. Instead, Foulois was sent to Nancy in France in September 1909 as a delegate to the International Congress of Aeronautics, possibly as a result of his outspoken criticism of the dirigible. He returned in October to College Park, Maryland, where Wilbur Wright had begun training Lamb and Lieutenant Frederick Humphreys. Humphreys made the first military solo in an aeroplane in October 26, 1909, followed by Lamb. Although not obligated to do so, Wilbur took Foulois up and allowed him to handle the controls. On November 5th, Humphreys and Lamb damaged their aircraft during landing. Both were recalled to the units. While waiting to repair the aeroplane, the Signal Corps decided to seek a more favourable climate location for flying during the winter. Foulois was directed to report to Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, Texas, where he was directed to teach yourself to fly. He did so. Over the next 15 months, Foulois modified Signal Corps No. 1's elevators with all Wright's instructions and demonstrated the Wright B suitability for aerial mapping, photography and reconnaissance, and the use of the radio while airborne. Rather than use a 60-foot launch rail to take off, he installed wheels in place of skids and equipped the aeroplane with the first seat belt using a 4-foot leather cinch obtained from the cavalry saddlery. Fu Hua said, "After crashing the first time, I took it up and I almost got thrown out. Landed, the artillery officer came up and I said, 'Fred, I want you to get a belt to keep me in that damn plane.' A strap about 4 foot long, something I can lash myself into the seat with." In February 1911, the Army leased a Wright Model B from Robert Collier. Because Fu Hua was unfamiliar with the type, the Wright Company sent Philip Parmalee to instruct him. On March 3, 1911, Fu Hua and Parmalee made the first official military reconnaissance flight looking for Army troops between Laredo and Eagle Pass in Texas. Fu Hua was joined in April by 3 students from the Curtis Aviation School in San Diego, including Captain Paul Beck and Second Lieutenant George Kelly, to form a provisional aero company in anticipation of training 18 more pilots. In July 1911, the Army adopted as its standard the licensing requirements of the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale. On April 20, 1912, Fu Hua became the 5th Army pilot to be rated a military aviator. The Aeronautical Department experienced a spate of fatal accidents in 1912 and 1913, mostly involving the Wright Model C aeroplane, and convened a board of aviators to investigate safety concerns and make recommendations. Fu Hua condemned not just the Wright C, but all pusher aircraft as unsafe in February 16, 1914, and those remaining in the Army inventory were ordered to be immediately grounded. In 1916, Mexican Pancho Villa crossed into New Mexico and killed 17 Americans. In response, Brigadier General John Pershing was directed to pursue Villa into Mexico, and Fu Hua was ordered to take 8 airplanes to provide reconnaissance and communications. On the 16th of March, Fu Hua flew as observer with Dodd on the first American military reconnaissance flight over foreign territory. Fu Hua clashed many times with Billy Mitchell, who is regarded as the father of the United States Air Force. Both were ambitious, strong-willed and independent thinkers. Their disagreements is a whole story in itself. It was Mitchell who was court-martialed for insubordination for accusing Army and Navy leaders of an almost treasonable administration of the national defence for investing in battleships instead of aircraft carriers. History has proven him right. Fu Hua had many roles in service of his country, including as Chief of the Air Corps during the airmail scandal of 1934. Fu Hua decided to retire for the good of the service, asserting that he did so that the focus could return to the vital task of building the Air Force in the face of a resurgence in German air power. He left active duty in 1935 after 36 years of service. In spite of his remarkable career, he departed with no farewell from the General Staff, no parade, and no aircraft flyby. In 1963, Fu Hua appeared on the television quiz show I've Got a Secret, where his secret was that he had been once the entire US Air Force. General Fu Hua died on April 25, 1967, following a stroke at the age of 87. He remains one of the most significant figures in the development of US air power. As one of the longest living of the first military pilots, Fu Hua had witnessed the Wright brothers' first flights to the Apollo space program. Thank you for watching. Please comment, like and subscribe to promote future content.